Hi everyone, this is Coach Jorge. I am the head coach at E3 Triathlon Coaching. In this video, we'll be discussing the importance about fueling when we're training and when we're racing. More specifically, I'm going to be focusing on what I refer to as the fueling trio, which is carbohydrates, fluids, and electrolytes. I hope you find it useful. Thanks. In triathlon and long course racing in particular, it is known that nutrition and fueling is the fourth discipline. That is because the duration of those events can be anywhere between 4 hours all the way to 16 hours. It doesn't matter if you're in the best shape of your life. If you don't fuel properly when you're training and you're racing, eventually you're going to struggle, you're going to run out of energy, and your performance is going to suffer. So how can you address this and prevent it? Well, as you've probably seen, there's a lot of information out there making all these very confusing, but I'm going to make it very simple for you. The key is to address what I refer to as the fueling trio, which include carbohydrates, fluids, and electrolytes. On a separate video, I'll go into detail as to why each of these three elements are important. But for now, let's keep it simple. Carbohydrates are important because we can only store so much on our body. We store some on our muscles as glycogen and some on our liver as glucose. When we are very well trained, we actually can increase the amount of glucose and glycogen that we can store, but again, it's limited. For instance, evidence shows that well-trained individuals may store around 100 grams of glucose on the liver and around 400 grams of glycogen on the muscle. Therefore, a person can store up to around 500 grams of carbohydrates, which equals around 2,000 calories. Now, because this is a preferred source of fuel for our brain, there always has to be some available for it. Therefore, we cannot utilize all of it. Hence, from those 2,000 calories available for fueling, we can only use a portion, and why it's a limited source. Therefore, when we're training and racing, it's very important that we supplement these carbohydrates so we can supplement to what we have already stored in our body. You can get these from products. There's many sports drinks, sports gels, bars, etc. Or you can get it from real food. It really comes down to your personal preference and what your stomach handle. That's it. The general rule of thumb is that your body can absorb around 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour. But not all carbohydrates are equal. Some can be absorbed faster than others. Things like maltodextrin and glucose can be absorbed faster, but again, we can only absorb around 60 grams per hour. But we can overcome this by using multiple transportable carbohydrates, things like fructose. In fact, products like Power Bar with their C2 Max formula, they already have these. They have a mix of maltodextrin and fructose, and therefore, you can bump up your absorption rate to around 90 grams per hour. But what does that mean for you? Well, if you use this general rule of thumb, you should be able to absorb between 60 and 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour as long as you consume products like Power Bar that will allow you to do this. Next is fluids, which regulates various processes on our body. For instance, as you get dehydrated, it impairs your body ability to regulate heat, which results in increased body temperature. Also, perceived exertion is increased, causing athletes to feel more fatigue. Also, mental function is reduced, which can have negative implications for motor control. Finally, gastric emptying is slow, which can result in stomach discomfort. All this affects your performance. Getting dehydrated as little 2% can have a negative impact on your overall performance. So how much to drink? Well, it's difficult to give a particular guideline for everyone, but in general, genetics, body size, fitness, environment, and exercise intensity can affect how much a person sweats. The easiest way to determine this is doing a sweat test, which basically you weight yourself before and after an activity, you add any fluids that you drink during the activity, and you can determine your sweat loss per hour. Last but not least, electrolytes, which are important for intracellular and extracellular environment functions. These help regulate hydration as well as blood pH, and these are very important for nerve function as well as muscle contraction. In fact, recent evidence suggests that electrolytes may help with the specific physiological mechanisms that might help delay muscle fatigue and help us improve our performance. Hence, it's important to regularly consume and have a good balance of electrolytes like calcium and magnesium, and specifically when exercising, sodium and potassium. So how much should you consume? Out of the fueling trio, electrolytes are the most difficult to determine and definitely difficult to provide a general guideline. The best way is to do an electrolyte loss test, in which via specialized equipment they will measure how much it's your specific electrolyte loss. This is important because this can vary significantly among different athletes. If that's not possible, a general rule of thumb is just to have a balanced diet in which you regularly consume the different electrolytes suggested here, and also if when you exercise you sweat a lot or your clothes have salt stains, then you most likely need to supplement during exercise. In summary, to optimize your fueling when exercising and racing and improve your performance, you need to consume the fueling trio, which is carbohydrates, electrolytes, and fluids. For carbohydrates, you want to consume multi-transportable carbs and consume between 60 and 90 grams per hour. For fluids, you want to do a sweat test to determine your specific hourly loss. And for electrolytes, you either need to do an electrolyte loss test or roughly determine what are your specific needs. Address these 3 key elements and you will see great benefits for your training and your racing. If you found this video useful, give us a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe, as we'll continue to post different videos on different triathlon related topics. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about sweat electrolyte testing, click on the link on screen. Thank you very much, and remember, train smart!